Episode 11, Animal Rescue. We continue where we left off in the last episode, where we see the girls and guys training down by the lake on the outskirts of Gardenia, where the Winx are slowly getting better with their physical combat skills, but they still need more work. They then switch to magic training, where they transform, but are shown to have a bit difficulty with their new Believix powers for how limited it feels. Techna expressed how the Believix magic feels much differently than their previous forms, but Flora tried to cheer her up, saying that the more people believe in them, they'll get stronger over time. As they were taking a break, Roxy is curious and asks how the whole fairy transformation thing works. Musa explains to her that it'll come at an intense emotional moment and explains, like them and other fairies, Roxy will be given a beginner fairy form, which is now known as recently as Magic Winx form. She's still surprised that the Light Rock Council officially added it in the Book of Fairies and dictionary copies aside from the one they possess. Aisha said the silhouette of the form is simple but stylish depending on your personality and or power. She summoned the Book of Fairies to the beginner fairy form in the transformation section for Roxy to read to get a better idea. As it was Roxy's turn after their break, we see her struggling a bit at first summoning her magic, but as soon as she took a deep breath and focused on her hands, she successfully summoned her magical energy, to which everyone rejoiced and congratulated her, which made her smile a bit. But unfortunately, the moment of celebration was cut short when Techna had an update of the animal hospital that they went to yesterday, where on the news it was shown that to be vandalized and apparently something or someone broke in. The Winx detransform, then along with the boys and Roxy, they get to head over there with the help of Stella's scepter. As they teleported in the woods, we see news reporters and crowds gathering in front of the police line. As they ran up towards the hospital, they were stopped by the police only for Jessie and Paul stating that they knew them and gave permission to come through. Roxy asked Jessie what happened at the sanctuary, to which Jessie responded that she wasn't sure, but she was informed that it was an animal broke in. Roxy and Helia discovered some bear prints big enough to be an adult bear on the ground, which lead to the entrance door, which then Techna questioned how a bear that size could possibly break in and did little damage than the average bear would. This followed by Musa stating that not only that, but the other animals became unscathed by the bear. But Roxy intervened that all of that can wait, for their priority is to move the animals to safety. As they were moving the animals, Jessie noticed that the bear cub they rescued was also missing. But before she could question more, Naboo pointed out that something was happening on the news. We see that Gardenia's mayor addressed the issue and has a plan to do something about it. He called the two men named Zerbuk and Wolfar, who are expert hunters, and they both vowed to protect Gardenia and its citizens of the attack. The gang immediately recognized the guys from yesterday and, along with Jessie and Paul, put two and two together and concluded that they might be responsible for the break-in and the cub's disappearance. Jessie asked the other staff to hold down the hospital as they rushed out and saw the mayor and the two hunters and confronted them, reminding the mayor that this reserve and its inhabitants were protected, and accused the two hunters of trashing the hospital to justify their reason to hunting the bear cub. The mayor informs them that he got permission from the government to proceed with the plan, and Zerbuk said that if they did what they accused, where's the evidence to prove their claims? This caused Roxy to lash out towards the mayor and the hunters, calling them despicable. The officers were ordered by the mayor to escort them out the premises, as Zerbuk and Wolfar were prepping and heading out to proceed to hunt the bear. We see Jessie crying and feeling angry about what's happening and that it's all over. Paul consoled her, telling her it'll be alright and they will go and find the cub before they did. Roxy and the others wanted to go with them, but Paul stopped them, saying it's too dangerous and these guys are ruthless. He appreciates all that they have done for them, but this is a situation that the park rangers need to handle, and began to escort Jessie back to the hospital and jumped in his car to follow the hunters to see if he can find any evidence enough to arrest them. The gang decided that Paul was still going to need an extra hand in a way he wouldn't expect. The girls transformed into their Believix forms while the guys suited up in their armor. Bloom used her powers to help levitate Roxy, and the boys discovered that their new armor had jet wings for them to fly. The specialists activated their stealth mode in their suits, while Naboo and the Winx used an invisibility spell to hide themselves from the crowd and began their search. Flora and Brandon both realized a trail of broken twigs and bare paw prints and flew down. They see that the prints and the human prints along with it are heading towards east. Aisha said they should split up into pairs and cover as much ground as possible. Roxy, Flora, and Tekna, along with Riven and Brandon, went east while the others went west. As they began to fly, Roxy spotted the hunters and she and the others flew down and began spying on the men and overhearing the setup of what they did to kidnap the bear from the hospital and gathered the others in the forest to justify their hunting for them. All while Roxy was secretly recording this on her phone. This of course resulted in everyone being upset, but infuriated Roxy, who expressed her disgust and hatred towards these men. Tekna says they need to focus and find the cubs. Flora then used her powers to communicate with the trees and plants about finding a shortcut to get to the bear cubs before the hunters did. They found the cave where the cubs are being held captive, but noticed Paul was also found a place and saw that the cubs was trapped in the cave as well, bound in chains. Flora and Tekna transformed, and together with Riven and Brandon, who changed back into their civilian forms, ran into the cave to help Paul free the cub. Paul is shocked and asks why are they here, and they need to leave because it's dangerous. Unfortunately, they were caught and held at gunpoint. Zerber pulled his trigger, which hit Paul's arm, and then was dropped to the ground where Flora and Riven ran to his aid. Wolfar scolded Zerbuk for acting reckless, but Zerbuk addressed that they seen too much and must be taken out. He then attempted to shoot Roxy, but missed and accidentally shot one of the boulders in the cave, which caused some of the rubble of the cave to knock the hunters unconscious as everyone in the cub fled. Roxy saw the men and was about to leave them behind to get crushed, but stopped herself. Despite how she felt towards them, and to rightfully so leave them, she couldn't find her heart to watch them die, and says she hopes she doesn't regret this. So, she channeled her magical energy to hold off the rocks and push them away with one hand, and then used the other to try pulling the hunters out of the cave while they're unconscious and dragged them by the riverbank. She then called Aisha and the others with their communicators, which, with the help of Stella's scepter, were able to transport into Roxy's location and de-transformed. We see Aisha use a spell to create rope to tie the men up and round them as well, and saw Paul being aided by Flora from his wounds. Soon after, his fellow forest rangers arrived, then arrested Wolfar and Zerberk. Paul turned to the gang and thanked them for all they'd done, but reminded them that the next time they should leave it to the authorities, worried that they could be seriously hurt. However, he also stated that he can't deny how impressive they were, and jokingly said they will be great additions as forest rangers. Paul and the gang, along with the rangers, are seen escorting the two hunters to the police, where they will be sent to jail with evidence of their plan being secretly reported by Roxy. Jessica happily thanked them, but Paul said the credit should go to the girls and guys who found and rounded them up. The police officers thanked them for all their help, and the news anchors began reporting the incident, and soon the Winx and Specialists, along with Roxy, became small-town celebrities, along with Jessie and Paul. Afterwards, Roxy then came home where her dad heard the news of what happened. While he was very proud of her accomplishments, he advised her to please be careful and to not involve herself in those situations, for she is his whole world and doesn't want to lose her. He also added how careless the girls and guys are for allowing this to happen, and had the urge to fire the boys. Roxy pleaded with her father to not do that because they were trying to stop her. She decided she wanted to help the cubs, and they tried to stop her, but she didn't listen. They were about to call him, but so much had happened. Klaus said he isn't too sure nor convinced, but told Roxy he'll let this one slide this time, especially given the situation, but told her from now on, no more pulling stunts like this ever again. Roxy, knowing her life has now changed, feels guilty because she can't uphold that promise to her father. But to ease him, she promised, though not really, that she wouldn't get into any more dangerous involvement. She then walked upstairs to her room where she saw R2 and her two fairy pets greeted her with licks on her face. She excitedly told them about what occurred, even casting proper spells. She then stopped herself mid-sentence, asked why is she excited about all this. She tried to convince herself that she isn't that excited, but then we see her smiling, implying that she low-key did. And soon end this episode.